The text that broke my heart. It started with a message, as so many stories do in our digital age. The kind of message that appears on your phone at 2:17 a.m., when the world is quiet and even the moon seems to be holding its breath. I was awake by accident, not by intent, scrolling through old photos and half-heartedly considering sleep. When my screen lit up, I didn't expect anything more than a notification from a group chat or a delivery update. But no, it was from her, Emma. We met in the most ordinary of places, a coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday in San Francisco. I was hunched over my laptop, headphones on, typing furiously against a deadline. A sudden crash had pulled me out of my bubble. A cup of coffee spilled across her table, papers flying, her cheeks blooming red as she apologized to the barista. I offered her my extra napkins, and she laughed, a sound that cut through the city's grey drizzle. From there, things moved with the gentle inevitability of falling leaves. She was a photographer, drawn to the strange and beautiful. Abandoned buildings, city lights reflected in puddles, the way sunlight slipped through morning fog. I was a writer, always hunting for stories, collecting moments like loose change. Somehow, we fit together. Our conversations stretched long into the night, weaving through childhood memories, secret dreams, and the kind of hopes you only share when you believe someone might truly listen. Our love was built on tiny rituals. Every Sunday, we'd walk the Embarcadero, sharing a pastry from the bakery neither of us could pronounce. When she developed her film, she let me pick my favorite shot, her way of seeing the world, pressed into glossy paper. On my birthday, she gave me a notebook filled with Polaroids and notes scrawled in the margins. This was the day we saw the fog swallow the bridge. This was the night you made me laugh so hard I cried. But love, I learned, is not always enough to keep two people moving in the same direction. The world outside our bubble grew insistent. Her work took her to New York for longer and longer stretches. I stayed behind, stubbornly loyal to the city that had cradled our beginning. We tried to bridge the distance, late-night calls, postcards tucked into luggage, plans for visits that never seemed quite long enough. But slowly, quietly, the silences grew heavier. Our messages became shorter, the laughter faded, replaced by careful questions and cautious answers. And then, there was that night. That message. At first, I almost didn't open it. The preview on my lock screen was innocuous. "Hey, are you awake?" But something about the hour, the way her words seemed to hover uncertainly, made my chest ache before I'd even read the rest. I opened the thread, and her words spilled out in blue and white bubbles, carefully typed, as if she'd rewritten them 100 times. "I've been thinking a lot about us. About how we started, and where we are now. I love you. I need you to know that. But I feel like we're living parallel lives, hoping the lines will cross again. I'm tired of missing you more than I get to hold you. I'm tired of loving you from a distance. I want you to be happy, even if it's not with me. I hope you find someone who can be there for you every day, not just in memories and phone calls. I'm so sorry." I stared at the message, my hands trembling. It was abrupt, but not surprising. The truth is, I'd felt it coming, the slow erosion of something I'd once thought unbreakable. There's a pain that comes not from a sudden loss, but from the slow fading of color from a photograph, until all that's left are the outlines. That night, I walked through the city, letting the cold air bite at my cheeks. I passed the coffee shop where we met, its windows fogged, the tables inside empty. I wandered the Embarcadero, watching the lights of the Bay Bridge shimmer on the water, the same way we used to on those quiet Sunday mornings. I thought about all the things we'd promised each other, road trips and new apartments, books we'd write together, places we'd travel. I thought about the notebook she'd given me, still tucked in my drawer, her handwriting curling around the edges of my favorite memories. I wondered if I would ever be able to open it again. In the weeks that followed, I learned that heartbreak is not always loud. Sometimes it's the empty space beside you in bed, the unread messages, the way you instinctively reach for your phone when something funny happens, only to remember there's no one to share it with. It's in the photos you can't delete, and the songs you skip on the radio. But heartbreak is also a teacher. It makes you notice things you might have missed before, the kindness of strangers, the comfort of routine, the strange solace of knowing you once loved deeply, even if it didn't last. I started writing again, not just for work, but for myself. I wrote about Emma, about love and loss, about the way a single message can change the course of your life. One afternoon, months later, I found myself back at that same coffee shop. The city was still draped in fog, but the world felt different. Sitting by the window, I watched people pass by, couples laughing, friends arguing, someone arguing with a stubborn umbrella. I realized I wasn't waiting for her anymore. I was remembering her, and there's a quiet strength in letting go. Sometimes, I think about that message, the one that broke my heart. I keep it, not as a wound, but as a reminder. It taught me that love is not about possession, but about presence. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, and knowing when to let go, even when it hurts. It's about collecting moments, not guarantees. Emma and I haven't spoken since. Our story lives in those photos, in the notebook, in the city we both loved. Perhaps, somewhere across the country, she walks the streets of New York, camera in hand, chasing the perfect shot. Maybe she thinks of me sometimes, the way I think of her, softly, without regret. Love stories aren't always about happy endings. Sometimes, they're about growth, about finding the courage to move forward, bruised but wiser. Sometimes, the text that breaks your heart is also the one that sets you free. I hope, wherever she is, she's found the sunlight she used to chase in her photographs. I hope she's laughing, the way she did when the world was new and everything seemed possible. And I hope, most of all, that someday, I'll find a love that feels like coming home. Not a place, but a person who stays. Life moves forward, as it always does. The city changes, the fog lifts, and new stories begin. But I will always carry a piece of that love with me. A lesson, a memory, a quiet gratitude for having loved and lost and learned. In the end, the text that broke my heart didn't end the story. It simply turned the page. And somewhere, in the space between heartbreak and healing, I found myself again, ready to write the next chapter, whatever it may hold.